welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because it is going to be round 3 in the Palette Madness tournament here on my channel, where we are putting all 160 eyeshadow palettes in my palette collection head to head to see who is going to come out the #1 superior champion. And today we are down to 40 palettes. And logistically, as I was thinking through the rest of this contest or this tournament, I realized that we're gonna be needing to like do a little something to make it even out at the end. So today I have 40 eyeshadow palettes that will be competing head to head. And then I'm also going to do, of those 40, the remaining 20, I'm also going to include those head to head competitions in today's video. So by the end of today's video, we will be down to our 10 remaining palettes. But in a bracket style competition, we really need to be at 16. So at the end of today's video, we're gonna get to our sweet 16 eyeshadow palettes. And the way that we're gonna do that is you guys are going to leave me your comments down below and let me know 6 eyeshadow palettes that have exited the competition that you were really sad about and you would like to see enter back into the competition. And these 6 eyeshadow palettes I see commented most frequently, I will bring back into the Sweet 16. I will bring 6 eyeshadow palettes back on top of the 10 that we end with today to be the Sweet 16. I hope that is making sense. Maybe it's not. Maybe it'll all come together. I really hope so. But today, we're gonna go from 40 and we're eventually gonna get to 10 by the end of today's video. So if you're interested in seeing the next head-to-head matches, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Okay, we are late into the day. I feel like my makeup is like, we're all but worn off at this point in time, so I do apologize if the face is looking a little rough. Okay, first up, ooh, this one is going to be a tough one, and I feel like they're gonna get more difficult and more difficult as we go on. But we have the Adept Ninhydrin palette against the What's Up Beauty Desert Monsoon, and both of these are really, really beautiful indie eyeshadow palettes. But for me, I'm definitely gonna have to go with the Adept Ninhydrin just because I like the special shades in this eyeshadow palette more than I do the What's Up Beauty Desert Monsoon. So Ninhydrin is going to move on, but again, remember, if you see any palettes going home, whether it be in today's video or previous round 1 or round 2, which will also be linked, or if you just know of a palette in my collection that you don't see in today's video, comment and let me know you want to see it back in the contest. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is also going to be a really difficult one. I feel like I'm going to say that for like every head-to-head now. Okay, we have the NARS Summer Solstice up against the Fantasy Cosmetica Druid eyeshadow palette. How do I even choose? Because I absolutely love the NARS Summer Solstice for like every day. Really beautiful, especially in the summertime. I love this warm toned color story. But then we have this really beautiful fall toned color story with some of the special shades in here. I feel like my heart is telling me Druid, but then like I know how much I've used and loved the NARS Summer Solstice. So I'm gonna have to give it to NARS Summer Solstice for the advance. All right, next up, we have Natasha Denona Gold against Adept Heather Austin. And this is also so difficult, but we know how much I just absolutely love Natasha Denona Gold. I'm not necessarily saying gold is for sure gonna be the winner, but I just love this palette so much. I love all of the brown mattes in this, as well as some of the green shades. And I really, really do love the special shades in the Adept Heather Austin palette, but I can't not pick the gold. So gold is going to advance on. All right, then we have the Rowan Mood Forever quad, which honestly props to Rowan Mood Forever for being a quad and making it to this round. And then I have it up against the Unearthly Fall Magic eyeshadow palette. And I am gonna give it to Unearthly in this round. It just has more variety, more options. We have some matte shades. I've created some looks I've absolutely loved and adored with this eyeshadow palette, so I'm gonna give this one to Fall Magic. Okay, this one's kind of interesting that these two ended up against each other. So I have the Natasha Denona Biba palette against the Natasha Denona Mini Nude, and I've definitely reached for Mini Nude more in its lifetime. I've repurchased this palette because I reached for it so much that mine had like all but shattered and broke. And I missed it so much. Really, really convenient for easy on the go. But then I have this more kind of expanded color story, and I actually feel like, although I do really like the shade Sienna, like the green in this one, but I feel like aside from that, I really have everything. I think I'm gonna have to give it to Biba. I think, I'm a little bit surprised, but I think I'm actually gonna have to give this round to Natasha Denona Biba, just because it's a more, basically what feels like a more expanded color story than Natasha Denona Mini Nude, although I will really miss the shade Sienna. All right, next up is another good pairing. So we have the Pat McGrath. This is like number 3, I believe. The number 3 mothership. I don't know what this one is called. And then we have that one going against the Bella Beauté Bar Basic Witch eyeshadow palette. And I'm going to give it to Bella Beauté Bar. This one just, I mean, it has a really fun, colorful color story. More mattes. Honestly, better, more special shifty shades than even the Pat McGrath, and this one is more affordable even, so we're giving it to Basic Witch. All right, next up we have the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2. Of course, I like changed my lighting because the sun was coming out. Now I feel like I'm really dark. Anyway, and we have this one up against the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic. And I feel like the fans at home would be wanting me to choose Rich Romantic because this one has been known to mold. But again, I recently no pan left behind it, Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2, and the mattes are just so incredible. So incredible. I had no issues with using this on my eyes, although Becky, one of my subscribers, did say she used, and I don't have my phone in front of me, she used like her magnifying glass and literally saw the mold. I'm gonna give it to Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 for this round. But before Sweet 16, I'm gonna be pulling out my magnifying glass and taking a peek. Okay, next up we have the Pat McGrath Interstellar Icon Quad against ABH Jackie, and I'm gonna give it to ABH Jackie. More shades, a favorite eyeshadow palette in my collection of like all time. So ABH Jackie is taking this round. All right, next up we have the Natasha Denona Yucca palette against the ColourPop Wild Child, both kind of giving like safari vibes. I'm gonna have to give it to the Yucca palette. There's just more shades, there's more variety. This has like grungy greens in it, which I absolutely love, but I do think this is a really good palette from ColourPop. So no discredit to this, but definitely going with Natasha Yucca. Ooh, this also is a good one. So we have the Cold Moon palette from Ensley Rain up against the Jewels and Gem palette from Odin's Eye. Both are really beautiful colors, cool toned color stories. I'm definitely going to be giving it to the Cold Moon palette. I just think the quality is better in here. There are more shades, which I know some people would prefer a more curated color story, but I just was so impressed with the Ensley Rain Cold Moon, and there's a couple of matte shades within this one from Odin's Eye that I wasn't as impressed with. So Cold Moon is going to be moving on. Ooh, this next one is tough. Okay, so we have Odin's Eye Christmas against Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 4. This is so tough because this is like an all shimmer palette, but there's just so many beautiful, unique, special shades. And then this also has some really beautiful, unique shades, also has mattes in it. Oh my gosh, this one is really difficult. Okay, this one's tough. I think I'm gonna have to go with Merry Christmas just because every day I feel like this is more wearable, but that really pains me for Danessa Myricks Volume 4 to exit the competition. Oof, this next one is also really a challenging pick. We have Huda Rose Quartz, which is such a solid palette from Huda Beauty, up against the Sydney Grace Tiny Marbles eyeshadow palette. I think I am going to give it to Sydney Grace Tiny Marbles. I love that we have a blue brown shade. I love that we have a matte lavender green. Like, there's just such a variety. There's quite a variety in what we can do with this, whereas this one definitely is just going to typically be more of like an ethereal pink leaning look that you're going to create with this. Granted, you still do have a lot of variety within this eyeshadow palette, and it really does pain me for Huda Rose Quartz, so maybe this one will end up coming back, but I am going to give this round to Tiny Marbles from Sydney Grace. All right, and then the next matchup, we have the Tartelette in Bloom against Kaleidos Club Nebula. I am going to give this one to Tartelette in Bloom, actually, just because this is something like, this is such a solid staple palette, whereas this is obviously more colorful. And granted, I do love a more intense metallic, which is what I would get from here, but sometimes it's just good to have a staple palette laying around too for travel, or just a day that you don't want to think about your makeup. So I'm going to give this one to Tartelette in Bloom. All right, then I have the Geodes palette from What's Up Beauty going up against Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I'm gonna give this one to Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, and I know it was a quick decision, but this one actually is really difficult. There's quite a few shades I love in this palette from What's Up Beauty, but I also just kind of want to have my staple neutral cool leading eyeshadow palette in my collection, so I Need a Nude is advancing. Then I have Viseart's Soleil Le Plage versus the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nuevo palette. And I'm going to give this one to Viseart. I just love this color story. There's something special, like there's a special place in my heart with like the matte yellows in here and just like the solid like neutral browns. I just really love this palette. So that one's going to move on. Okay, this one kind of sucks that we have to choose between these two. We have the Cosmic Brushes, the Muse eyeshadow palette versus Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3. I love this palette so much. This forever holds a special place in my heart, but this one has more things that I can do with it. But I also just like, this one is so special to me. I think I'm going to go with Danessa Myricks Volume 3, but I'm hoping this one gets voted back in. That's just my personal opinion, may or may not, but this is a great palette. Next is Natasha Denona Retro. Again, mine looks different because I do custom Natasha midis, but I still have used and love Natasha Denona Retro as it is sold. And that one is going up against the Stone and Rock palette from Odin's Eye. I'm gonna have to give this one to Stone and Rock simply because this is this is probably one of my favorite green eyeshadow palettes in my entire collection. This shade right here, High Spirits, is literally everything, but also we have Cheerfulness, which is an awesome shade, as well as Passion, and I do love some of the like grungier green mattes in this eyeshadow palette as well. So Stone and Rock is moving forward. Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay, the next matchup is the Melt Smoke Sessions, very fitting for like my look today for greens. And then we have the ColourPop Miss Piggy palette, and I'm actually going to go with ColourPop Miss Piggy. There's just more of a variety of different like colorful looks that I can do with this palette, and while I do really appreciate this palette for these 6 like metallic greens, I really love, like, this is the excellent quality that ColourPop is capable of, and I had so much fun playing around with this eyeshadow palette. So this one is going to move on. Oh, this is also such a tough one. It's tough, but I know what I'm going with. But it's a good pairing. We have Artist Couture Supreme Mauves against Glaminatrix Nearly Natural, and I'm going to have to give it to Glaminatrix Nearly Natural, but I do love Artist Couture Supreme Mauves. The reason this one is going to win out is because I love the buildable matte formula that Glaminatrix offers in this, and then I love the punchy, metallic, sparkly, yet smooth metallics that this palette offers. So we're giving it to Nearly Natural. And then the final pairing for this round, round 3, we have the Adept Flying Fiddles palette against the Melt Cosmetics Rust palette, and I'm going to give this one to Flying Fiddles. I love the color story, love all the special shades, and overall just would much rather reach for this palette over Melt Rust. So Flying Fiddles is going to advance on. All right, you guys, and I literally have that stack of palettes in front of me, so we're just gonna kind of maybe work our way backwards then to go from our 20 palettes to our top 10. So bringing Flying Fiddles right back out. Unfortunately, Flying Fiddles is going against Nearly Natural. Actually, this is so tough because Nearly Natural, I like love this palette. One of my favorites in my collection. This is newer to my collection, but I also could see this being a favorite palette of this year. There are some really fun colors in here that I don't get in Nearly Natural, but I also feel like Nearly Natural is a little bit more versatile in terms of just creating like daily looks. I think I'm gonna have to give it to Nearly Natural just because there's more mattes I can work with on an everyday basis. But if there was like maybe like even like one matte in here that was like this shade, I feel like Flying Fiddles would take this one. But Flying Fiddles is going home unless you guys bought Flying Fiddles back, and Nearly Natural is moving on. Ooh, this one's tough. Okay, next we have ColourPop Miss Piggy against the Odin's Eye Stone and Rock Eyeshadow Palette. Okay, that is a tough E, because this is like, I'm doing a green look, but like a green look I'm gonna love, but this is like, I could do like a coral look, an orange look, a green look, a pink look, a blue look. Oh, I think I'm gonna have to go Odin's Eye Stone and Rock. I'm gonna have to, but that is also really difficult because I was just so impressed. I'm so glad to have this palette in my collection. Nevertheless, this one is the one that's gonna be going home, but I still love it. Okay, this next one also is just pains me. I have Danessa Myricks Volume 3 versus my Viseart palette. Oh, this is sad that one of these has to go home. Danessa Myricks has got to move on. This is just such a special palette to me. And granted, like these shades are like nothing special, but like the formula is so good. Danessa Myricks is moving on. Okay, that one hurt. Ooh, this is such a good pairing because these are like my two staple, like if I don't know what I want to do with like my base eyeshadow, I'm reaching into likely one of these two. So we have Tartelette and Bloom against Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, and I am gonna go Natasha Denona I Need a Nude because this one has some of the like lid toppery sparkly shades I really like, and the formula is just a little bit better. Excuse me again, a little bit better with this one, but this is still a solid palette. Oh, I know I'm saying this for every single one. This next pairing is also a great pairing and gonna be such a difficult choice, and I'm seeing the next one, I'm like, how do I even pick? Okay, we have Tiny Marvels versus Christmas Eve, or Christmas. I've definitely reached for Christmas more. I do that thing with this palette where like I feel like I can only reach for the Tiny Marvels on the most special of occasions, which I really need to stop doing. Something in my heart is telling me like this color story, and it could be because it's spring right now and this palette is just more speaking spring to me, but I'm gonna advance Tiny Marvels on, and I'm gonna send Merry Christmas home. Or yeah, Merry Christmas. Oh, that's a tough one. Just because I actually feel like this has more like usable mattes in it. Yeah, okay, Tiny Marvels is moving on. Okay, how do I even pick? How do I even pick? Cold Moon or Yucca? Depending on the day, I definitely feel like my answer could change. But I feel like because I'm just in a green mood right now, I'm gonna have to give it to Yucca and send Cold Moon packing. But that's tough. That's a really tough one. Okay, I think it's finally time for Patrick Ta to get the boot. We have Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1 against ABH Jackie. I'm giving it to Jackie. She's never grown mold on me. I've never had to worry about her in that way, and she has been like one of the products on my channel that I have not been able to shut up about. So ABH Jackie is winning this round. Ooh, this next one. We've got a neutral palette against a very fun palette. So we have Bella Beauté Bar Basic Witch against Natasha Denona Biba. And again, it kind of just like depends on what I feel like I'm wanting, but I think I'm gonna give it to Bella Beauté Bar Basic Witch simply because this shade has some of the coolest, most beautiful shifty multi-chromes, beautiful duochromes, and just some really fun colors. So we're gonna give it to Bella Beauté Bar Basic Witch. Okay, and I feel like my heart is telling me to go in a direction that might be a little unexpected for this next pairing. But we have my Natasha Denona Gold palette, which again, all-time, like one of my could be my all-time favorite palette, against Unearthly Fall Magic. The shimmers in the Fall Magic palette are just so special, and that's what's like making me feel like I want to pick Fall Magic. But then this has like some of my favorite matte brown shades of literal all time. Like, I feel like if there was a palette that was gonna take this palette out, it would be like Fall Magic. I can't. I have to. Gold has to move on. It just does not feel right for gold to not win that round. Okay, and then this last round is also just gonna be so difficult because we have my NARS Summer Solstice, which I love so much. And then we have the Adept Ninhydrin palette, and I think I'm actually gonna go with the more colorful palette that I really like for its shimmers in this situation, and I think I'm gonna send NARS Summer Solstice packing in this round just because I really do think this shade right here as well as these two shades are just so interesting and unique and just beautiful, and I just don't want to be without them in my collection. I'm not saying like I have to declutter the palettes that don't move forward in these rounds, but that's just like the things that I'm thinking through. So Adept Ninhydrin is going to come out on top of the NARS Summer Solstice, and that means, you guys, we have our top 10, but like I said, we need a Sweet 16. So I want to know in the comments below what 6 eyeshadow palettes. Give me your 6, maybe just give me your top 3, give me whatever, 6 or less eyeshadow palettes you would like to see me bring back to the Sweet 16 when we do round 4 of this video. But that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed and had fun watching. Thank you so much for sticking around to support me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.